Hello, hello, hello. As you see, today is not gonna be anything about games, anything about anime, anything about YouTube, or anything about music. Today is gonna be basically a conversation between moi and you guys. Because I want to talk about uh, a very point that I'm really tired of seeing is the political fight against left and right wing. I'm not afraid of the left wing because they're the only ones that you should be afraid of. But I really not align with the right wing as well. So I like to in Brazil I like to say that I'm a liberal, but that's a wrong thing to say in English because it's basically I'm a libertarian. Let's say like that. For me, I believe that you should have liberty to choose your things and vote with your wallet, basically speaking. And what things that I seen more and more these days is the fight against left and right. But for me, you should have that impasse, but you need to remember that the other person is a human being too. That especially goes to the left, that literally wants to kill everybody that doesn't agree with them. Because sometimes you need to see different point of views to try to understand the world better. I love video games, I love anime, I love movies, and I love music. Music, let's take a stab in one categories at a time. Starting with music. Music is not that effect of it because since you have such a wide range of music and such a wide range of artists, you can always choose to not go and to not support those artists because you have like so much more. You have some artists that quote lose their ways, but again, you can just always listening to their old great songs. You don't need to follow up the new songs to know that it's better or not. That is my main point of it. That's why music is not affected with the agenda as much as possible because for a consumer perspective that's not affect us, but for the performance perspective affected a lot because they're not getting the contracts, they're not getting the money for stay alive as a band or anything. If you're not left wing, they're not gonna be supported of you. That sucks. They're changing more on these days, like in 2025, since Trump won the election of the United States. They're changing a lot of their point of view of it, which thing is great. But for me, you shouldn't have to the in the end art that goes like for every topic that we're gonna talk about this video because art in the end is subjective. So if you like something, just like the thing that you have, but don't want the other thing to fail. Just don't support it. If the thing failed because they didn't have a support it, I think it's because it never were good in the first point. But we're gonna see. Yeah. Uh, the second topic that I want to say is about YouTube. You have a lot of channels on YouTube that is focused on fighting against the woke virus. I'm completely 100% support those channels even if they suffer a backlash. Like for example, in Portuguese, I follow Traje Cômico. That is a very important channel for me because they're basically open up the doors for me about the way that I think nowadays. There's basically you need to respect the other person, but you do not need to follow what they wanted you to do because you're yourself. You don't need to sacrifice your liberty to please the other person. You have the Whatever podcast. You have Crucible with Andrew Williams. You have Pierce Morgan. Uh, all of those channels talk about the more traditional viewpoint, and I think it's the right one because literally the right one. Uh, because when you're in those days nowadays, you see that the world is coming to an end. Everyone is so focused on me, like individualistic, that we are missing the things that make us humanity itself as a great power. Our communication, our ways to accept the other, the difference of the other. But now everything boils down to racism, transphobia, misogynistic, pornography. Let's see what else. That to the left wing, to the right, that you lost the ability to make concessions. Because, in my understanding, more and more, these days is going down a lot, especially thanks to like Gamergate 2 or the right opposing more to the left because for the last 10 years all you have is those big companies putting out garbage, ideological garbage, and most of which is basically there to doctrinate the young people, to try to show them, look, you can be a cow that have multiple genders instead of just two. Crazy point of view. Or letting kids to have like transition to be like a transgender kid. That's crazy. Or legalizing drugs. I'm in favor of the liberty of expression, about liberty in all points. So if you are free, you can have your own choices. But don't make me paying for your choices. For example, if you want to transition, if you want to be a transgender, fine, you can be whatever you want, but don't make me pay for your surgery with my taxes. That is a no-brainer for me. If you want to buy drugs, fine, but your liberty ends when mine starts. So if you're buying drugs and you are decided to drive after and you hit your car on mine, don't wait for the government to pay the bill. You're gonna be completely responsible for it. You need the other problem is these days most of people are not being responsible for their decisions. So they're more and more trying to run away from their responsibilities. And that's crazy because they're just trying to make you view their point of view and not a responsible way to do it. For example, uh, when you're doing, when you're putting out there racist statements and saying that you cannot be racist against white, that doesn't make sense. That's completely bullshit. Because racist is prejudice against race. That is the meaning of the word. The word. Sorry if you don't agree. I don't care. That is the meaning of the word. if you say, oh no, racist needs to be prejudiced against, prejudiced with power, plus power, something like that. That is the so this thing is so rooted in our society. That is the things that my friends say to me, and I say, "Are you stupid? That doesn't make any sense." Even though, let's say that things happen, so you're basically saying, uh, and you're saying that it's not possible to have racism against white people, and they say yes, and I say, okay, let's go this way. I think I already talked about it with my racist video, but this is gonna be like way more straightforward. Let's say that you have a person in a position of power that is black, a dean on a university, that he's gonna interview you, and then he's gonna decide if you're gonna enter or not in the university. So he had two files. You have your file, that you're a white person that exceeds in all of the academics, you just a straight A student. And you have the other file, that is a black kid that is middle ground. I'm not gonna say that he's a bad student. I'm just gonna say he's average. He's passed it on everything. He could have entered, but the dean needs to choose between one of two. Which one do you think they're gonna choose? You're gonna think they're gonna choose a white kid that is more capable of. Yeah, I completely agree. That's not racist. But if we choose the other kid because he is black, the only reason is because he's black, that's racist. Because you're favoring one race against the other one. If both of them are the same, it's not racist to choose one or the other because they are the same. That is why I cannot like equalize those things. The same thing goes if you're a black dean and you choose a black kid that is straight A's instead of a white kid that is average. If you choose the black one, okay, no problem. If you choose the white one because the white one is white, that's racist. It's not that complex, guys. Please, it's a prejudice against race. It's the same thing. If you're in Brazil, we have like a saying: "There's nothing more dangerous than two guys on a motorcycle." But you can say, "Oh, two white guys in a motorcycle, that's fine. Two black guys in a motorcycle, you need to be careful." No, that's racist. That is the whole point that I'm trying to convey here. Racism is against race, not against a specific race. You cannot say that you have the roots of the problem is in the past. Could be, but I who and you who are living right now doesn't have meetings to fix the past. Because the other thing that I talk about it is about indigenous, the First Nation, the First Nation payback. Let's call it that way. And my first question is, when you're gonna finish your payback? They never gonna say anything. When you're gonna fix the damage that you did to their culture? The same thing goes with blacks, because in Brazil they, for some reason, they have quotes on the college for black people, for trans. I think some college have for trans, or they're trying to pass on it. But 100% they have for blacks. So when we're gonna finish to don't have like quotas for blacks anymore? Because for me, quotas for blacks, you're racist, because you're basically prioritizing a race against the other. So you're racist. Oh, but blacks doesn't have any more, don't have any how can I call it? Opportunities to go to the university without quotas. Quote, and I say, okay, that is a problem that is way below the margin that you cannot fix just giving quotas from them. Instead of trying to reorganize the society, fixing the schools, trying to do better training with police officers to not for them to not be racist and have like a racist encounters with black people just because they're black, trying to fix the society, they trying to put like a band-aid on it and call it a day. For me, that's wrong. The same thing goes for trans and every other things. You can be trans. I'm not saying that you cannot be, but my problem is when you're trying to force the trans ideology on other people, or like multi-gender ideology on the other people, on our kids. For example, when you're trying to change a language, when you're trying to include they them pronouns, which doesn't make sense because the way that you're just trying to do, you're just trying to get attention. Because my point of view, again, my opinion, that's why I'm not changing screen so you can see every single time that this is my opinion, is okay, you can be a transgender person, but you can never be a they. Okay, because they is multiple people. Easy. But okay, let's say that I am a guy and I transition as a girl. Now, guess what? Your pronouns is she, her. Easy. Easy. If you're a girl that goes to a boy, your pronouns are he, him. Easy. You don't have z, they, you don't have they, them, you don't have the combat helicopter. And my whole point is you can do that, but you need to be careful. In my life, in my personal life, I know trans people in my personal life. The thing is, statistically speaking, I should not. But I know three. That is the point that I'm gonna convey. I know three people that is relatively close to me that are trans. It was two guys who transitioned to a girl and a girl who transitioned to a guy. My main point is, statistically speaking, I should know one or no one because they should be 0.0001% of the society. They shouldn't not be a relative percentage of the society because that's not natural. That doesn't make sense. And usually you can fix the trans problem with psychology, with psychiatry, talking about your feelings, trying to understand. Body dysphoria can happen, but it's rare. The problem with this society is because we are overexposing things and we are creating a contagious disease. It's not a disease, and that's why I'm quoting. It's like a virus in a way that it spreads fast. It's not a virus as a sickness, but it's a virus as a way that is spreading. The Brazilian channel that I talked at before, Tragicômico, he talks a lot about that as well. Is a society contagious thing. So basically, you're just making the new generations more aware of this possibility and forcing them to make a decision. So every single time they have a dilemma on their lives, they are thinking about those topics and can relate the problem they're feeling with this solution. In the way that, let's give a very basic example. Mary likes to play soccer. Mary likes to play soccer with boys. So, but Mary doesn't identify herself as a girl because Mary is a child. So, what is the best solution? Choose one. Let Mary grow up and decided for herself that she doesn't feel like a girl and transition after. For me, it shouldn't even be 18. It should have been like 21 or something. Option B. Make a Mary transition now because she wants to be accepted as a boy, and sooner he does it, more like a boy Mary is gonna be. Or three, doesn't do shit like we always have been doing that is working, and Mary's gonna see, oh, I can still like soccer and be a girl. That works for ages. You don't need to interfere in those type of things because they're gonna solve themselves. You the thing that you can do is just let Mary play football with the guys. Oh, but Mary's gonna be destroyed. Yes, because she's a girl. But when you're younger, the difference between sex is not that is not that predominant. So until certain of age, men and women they are basically have the same bodies. Like exaggerating a lot, they basically have the same body strength, body type, body format, and everything. Exaggerating, of course. And the difference between when you're aging and when you have your how do they call it, the adolescence, and then you grow older, the difference become like more and more clearly because men's are usually most of the time stronger than women. And the problem with the society these days is because they don't want to accept facts as a reality. They just want to see facts as a suggestion. I think that's a good saying. They don't want to accept facts, the real facts, the science facts, the biology facts, as facts. They want to think them as a suggestion. Instead of you setting the stone saying you can have male and female, you can have man and woman, they are different. You're just blurring the lines and creating more sexes that doesn't really make any sense. Your preference doesn't in fact doesn't affect your gender. So if you don't feel attractive to men or women, you're a like pansexual. I think is that the name of it? I'm not very sure, but my point is, okay, that's your preference, but you still a woman or a man. That doesn't matter. Each one of them. And the other thing goes for okay, the main point is when you're the not the main point. The point that I'm trying to make is what is the difference between gays and lesbians? Because gays are two men that like each other. Lesbians are two women that like each other. But both of them are homosexual because they like the same sex. Okay, that's happened. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that's happened. I say that it shouldn't be that common. Unfortunately, the way that we're living those days, every everyone is a little bit gay and every woman is a little bit lesbian. But it shouldn't be that way. I mean, I'm not saying that you cannot like the person that you like. I'm just saying that you're complicated things. I'm not saying stop. I'm just saying that if we continue the way that we're doing things, the society is gonna ruin because we're not having enough children for to continuate our populations. Our populations are basically dying, except like some random countries like China or India that you have like enorm or some African countries that you have like an enormous boon of natality. That doesn't make any sense for me. But let's continue our list of things. So on anime, that is a good thing because since Japan is so exclusive on those things, basically animes and manhwaras, that is the thing that I read the most, are not affected by DIY or gender things or the woke virus. But in other hands, series and animated series that could have been great are completely destroyed by it, like Shiha or Shiha. I think Shiha. The I need to. If you go to Netflix and you go like to the animations, a lot of Netflix original animations, you can see the woke on their things. The most recent one that I remember, the Devil May Cry. They they basically transform Dante, the guy that should be like a badass demon hunter, as a coadjuvant on his own show, and give the protagonist a status for a a girl. I'm not saying that the girl was useless on their games, but she was not Dante. That is the main point. And those things, of course, go to the games. Like the whole Gamergate 2 movement is an awesome movement that is finally having results for not destroying but showing how those games really are. For example, all of the Sweet Baby Inc. titles are sad. I fell into the trap, but after I, I fell into a Sweet Baby Inc. trap two times because I really was expecting the Spider-Man 2 game and the new God of War. When I played those ones, I feel I felt weird. Like some things didn't make sense. Like for example, Kratos be instead of being a tough dad, being like a more weak version of himself, not being strong emotionally as well, just being strong physically, or having like Angry Boda, a person that a girl that should be like Nordic, being black. How Nordics are black doesn't make sense. Or in Spider-Man 2, when they are basically sideline Peter Parker to raise Miles Morales because Peter was a pussy. Literally, when I was playing, the part that get me so upset on that game was like when Peter was fighting against transform Mary Jane. Mary Jane is another character that completely was ruined by the game. So they're fighting, and Mary Jane throws like a fridge on Spider-Man. Spider-Man, who's have super strength, and the guy was basically knocked out. The other scene was basically the Miles save Peter in the end because Miles is the black cool new kid on the block because they have tons of more power than Peter and more smart, more fast, have better powers, better sense of responsibilities, and Peter was just like a pussy. Pussy! That didn't even fight against their own symbiotic thing because he was a weak little guy. Or they transforming Mary Jane with, first of all, remodeling her character to look ugly as fuck. And considering the first game, she was beautiful. I love it. Second game, she was ugly. Oh my god, she was so ugly. But that's not the main issue. The main issue was she basically had like a 6 month training with Cyberwolf, and then she was literally hunting the Craven's hunters. The guys who trained like for years were losing for a Mary Jane Watson with her stun gun. And those are those things because I bought those games. I was expecting so much of it, and the even the Last of Us killing Joel and making Ellie and the new Abby, like, okay, I don't even know how Abby got like so strong in The Last of Us, because I didn't know that protein shake was that prevalent on the apocalypse, or like bomba. Uh, but my point is making her fight like men 3 times her size and make her easily win against them. That's not how it works. But sure. And those games are could have been like so much more if it wasn't for like the Sweet Baby Inc. or like some DIY agenda. And I really appreciate the Gamergate 2 movement to show up and say, oh, those games are progressive, doesn't make any sense, don't buy it. And then I'm not gonna buy it. Like after that, I never going to buy. Like for example, they're saying that I love Ghost of Tsushima, but they're saying that the Ghost of Yotei, the second Ghost of Tsushima game, is gonna be woke. So I'm not gonna buy it, even if I really like the first one. And those things is the most important thing is vote with your wallet. Dragon Age Veilguard was completely destroyed because nobody wants to play with Tav, uh, girl that have like different pronouns and blah blah blah, or playing Assassin's Creed Shadows instead of playing with a Japanese ninja. Ninja play like a black samurai. In Assassin's Creed game, you can have ninja, a fucking ninja. You decided to go with a black samurai. What the fuck, Ubisoft? That is those things that doesn't really make sense. The choices they make to please people that doesn't really want to play the games because they're not the target audience. Why are you making games for them? Instead of me, the guy who plays thousands of games. Okay, thousands is a lot. Hundreds of games every year. But no, they rather to release the games for 50 people and to please the agenda and say, oh, we're not transphobic, we're not racist, instead of putting out the best game they can. And to end the topic is about series. The amount of I don't watch a lot of series, but I can see how they're putting up as women are as capable as men, or putting like trans characters. Okay, fine, you can have trans characters in your series, but don't. Yeah, that is a point. You can have those things, but based on reality. Don't make them like better than the white average man, because usually they are not. Like in even in our society, like I was seeing a video the other day saying they lowered the standards for police women, because the police women cannot perform as well as a man. So why there are police women on the streets? That doesn't make sense. Okay, you need to have like a more sensible side, yeah, but don't let them patrol. Let them be like a special unit or something. Because if a guy tried to fight with a policeman, uh, probably it's gonna be like 1-to-1 fight. If a guy tried to fight as a policewoman, he can easily steal her gun, and now you have a crazy guy with a police gun in his hand. And those problem with trying to group both genders, like men and women are not different, goes on and on and on forever. But the main point is, uh, like let's close up my statement. Is there's no problem about being different. I'm not against your differences, but I'm against of the way that the society is exploiting the difference between people. I'm against you're trying to transition children. Yeah, I'm against you're trying to win something just because of a race, your color, your gender, your sex, because you're disadvantages on the society. I'm against women getting preferences because they're just women. That doesn't happen. That doesn't make sense. You should hire the best employee, not a woman because she is. The government shouldn't. You can if you want to because you're a private company, but the government shouldn't make you do it. For example, I heard that they trying to force Uber in Brazil to hire 50% of women in the cars as well, like as the drivers. But so if they cannot hire more men, that doesn't make sense. Everyone lost, and in the end, just because women don't want to do those type of jobs, and their choice to not work in those type of industry. You cannot artificially inflate the numbers just to look more correct to society. And in the end, like, if you're boiling down everything that I said, if you squeezed as much as information that I tried to pass on this video, it's basically we are different. We cannot perform as the same. We have different abilities. We have different uh, builds. We have different way to think. We have different way to act. So there's nothing wrong in being different. It's kind of strange the white guy saying, it's kind of strange, the white guy saying we should approve all the difference and not trying to prioritize any other of it. Because the race, your color of your skin doesn't make you better. You can be a better person, but not because you're black, not because you're white, not because you're Asian, because you choose to be. You can be a crazy ass policewoman because you choose to be, not because it's the normal, it's the exception. That is my takeaway of it. You just need to remember that everybody's is different and you need to set it up places for everybody. And you need to love the other, not judge, not trying to brainwash the children to have your army in the future. That is the things I'm trying to go for it. But yeah, thank you so much. I think I went like a little bit overboard on this topic, but as always, this is my opinion, and I love to talk about it. See you on the next one.